Welcome back everybody to another episode of In the Cat Box. Today we're actually out of the cat box looking at my rifle. Now, I know we've already made a video regarding my rifle, but today we're looking into the bolt system that I just installed into this bad boy. On top of the bolt system, I've installed the Wraith CO2 adapter and the Storm Regulator, and I will be going over exactly how I've set it up for my rifle, some little specifics regarding my rifle, as well as some tips and maybe some things for you guys to keep in mind if you guys are looking into getting a bolt of your own. So without further ado, let's take this bad boy apart and look into the internals. Okay, so now that we have the barrel and the bolt unit separated from the stock, we can actually see the slight differences that I have with my rifle compared to probably just about every other bolt user out there. So as you can see, my trigger box may look a little bit different than a typical trigger box. And that actually is because I basically handmade my trigger, my whole trigger box basically. So as you can see, it looks fairly similar, but it's most definitely not. It's fairly crudely made. I'll have a couple pictures up there for you guys of kind of what the inside of it looks like, but basically it does the exact same thing that any old stock trigger box will do regarding the bolt system. So still got the this trigger switch there right outside. My trigger is just a little more handcrafted, a little handmade, not as legit as the stock trigger. Now, the reason why I did this was because I actually got rid of my stock trigger when I decided to buy a zero trigger. And my zero trigger does not have the same capability to use this trigger switch like stock trigger boxes do. So for once, actually buying something that was better ended up kind of turning around and getting me. So I decided might as well design one, basically just use a sketch of this, cut it out, used hard plastic for the main body of it, threw over a really thin sheet of, I want to say it is steel, over the trigger box to keep everything in there. The trigger is actually a M4 charging handle assist. I had it laying around. It was actually the only trigger-like thing that I had. Kind of jerry-rigged it in there with a spring and everything. It actually works perfectly. So far with all the test shots I've done with my bolt system, it works flawlessly just like any old trigger box usually would work, and kind of got this nice little trigger right there. But as far as that, it's basically the same setup as usual. I am using my Action Army cylinder. It does work with the bar 10 bolt cylinder head. So that will definitely work for anyone out there that wants to or is thinking about using this, and they have an Action Army cylinder as well. But yeah, it's basically the same setup as usual. Got the airline here, got the battery wires harness basically here, and from there it's basically the same setup. Now I am using the Wraith system. I am using CO2 cartridges. Works fairly nice. I rather liked it. Definitely did not want to be messing around with a tank. I leave my rifle behind a lot while out in the field, so I knew that would probably kind of get annoying unplugging it. So decided to go with this. Definitely do not regret it. As of right now, I've been running it on 160 PSI. I've yet to be able to chrono it, so that may change. But 160 PSI, I've been able to get about 65 shots. Solid shots out of a single 12-gram CO2 cartridge. Now, one thing that I will say about my bolt unit is when I got it, hooked it all up, got it all set, made my trigger box, everything was solid, took off some test shots, worked really great. But then I decided to test to see how many shots I could get out of the unit, so I was rapid firing it fairly quick. and it actually started to leak. It started to leak just about around this area where the actual line screws into the shaft, which then screws into the bolt unit. I didn't know if it was exactly from there or if it was from the actual bolt unit itself. I know that some people have talked about their bolt units leaking because of the two halves not being tightened well enough. So mine did start leaking. Now when I took it apart, it was most definitely coming from that region. I know that for a fact. The Wraith system was set up really good. I knew it was not that. So what I just did is after having to take off the shaft that's connected to the line here, I screwed it back into the bolt unit and there was no leak at all. So I'm assuming that by racking back the bolt of the rifle so quick, and maybe as well as keeping so many repetitive shots one after another, not really giving it a break in between. I know that CO2 can get really, really cold, that I think it just either loosened the shaft or maybe it kept a piston like system inside there opened and it's closed all the way. But yeah, it started to leak fairly noticeably too. It was not slight, it was a very, very noticeable hiss. But after I tightened that shaft back up, it was not leaking at all anymore, so I'm assuming it was that. And what I did to hopefully solve or help that problem was actually put some blue Loctite on there. So I do have blue Loctite connecting the line to the shaft, and then I also have blue Loctite now connecting the shaft to the bolt system. So hopefully that keeps the threads from wanting to untighten while out in the field as best as they can. Definitely use blue Loctite, use a lower strength Loctite, because you I'll definitely be planning on taking this thing back apart, so you definitely don't want to use a high strength Loctite for that. Now another thing that I would definitely recommend all bolt users to do when they first get their unit is to go ahead and open up your bolt. Now if you feel comfortable, go ahead and open up your bolt. I know that Wolverine actually has a really nice PDF file, I believe it is. I'll put a link of it down in the description. Really nice file of how to take apart their bolt, the actual bolt unit itself. It's fairly simple, very easy. It's like probably about 10 steps maybe to it. But why I say that is because I actually heard that some bolt users, they were actually missing parts inside their bolt, specifically O-rings. So I thought, well, maybe I'll give that a look-see. This was back when my unit was leaking. So I opened mine up, and I actually noticed that I was actually missing an O-ring. I was missing very small O-ring. It was the O-ring that goes into the front screw cap, I believe it was. But yeah, it wasn't even in there. Can't fault Wolverine too much. I know they get a lot of product out there. They probably overlooked it fairly easily since it's so small. It's probably one of the smallest ones that's actually inside the bolt unit. Nice thing is that they give you spare ones. They give you some backup ones, so that was really helpful. Threw one in there, worked out fine. But I definitely recommend all bolt users to check out your bolt, give it a look-see, and make sure you got everything in there. Make sure you got all the O-rings set up in there. Make sure there's no debris, especially once you start getting sealing issues. If you get sealing issues, give it a look-see. You know, maybe save a little bit of money, but definitely hit up Wolverine if you have to. I know that they give excellent service to all their users. Now as far as the rest of the internals, it's basically that's it. I mean, I am still using my Action Army hop-up and my Action Army Type 4 inner barrel. I am still using the stock JG hop-up rubber, but besides that, that's it. Everything else is just as usual, nothing really fancy as far as the internals so far. So let's put this bad boy back together and let's get to the externals and see exactly how I routed my unit to the outside. Okay, so now with the rifle completely put back together, we're going to see exactly how I routed the airline as well as the wiring. Now as far as the airline, routed it just about as same as everyone else does, straight through the stock. I got the Wraith sitting in there, very nice. It's got the Storm Regulator on there. It's pretty snugly in there. I've got a little bit of foam in there to keep it exactly where I want it, but fairly straightforward. If you got a VSR, it's going to be hollow enough for this to work out for you. As far as the wiring harness though, I actually have it coming out and down through my mock magazine. Now, chose to do this because I didn't want it to get too cluttered inside the stock. I didn't want too many things being in there, maybe something being pinched. So I decided to route it through the magazine, and it was fairly easy to do. Now, if you're looking to do a magazine mod like this, I'll have a link in this video to my other video on how to put a mock magazine into the VSR tin of your own. Now, it's fairly simple. I actually had to do a little bit of customization to my own mod, mainly because of my handmade trigger box. So did what I needed to do, but now it sits in there really nice. I don't have any wires pinching. Now, I did leave the full length of both the tubing and the wiring just in case if I change my mind. But basically, I got it sticking out here, plug in the battery to it, basically roll it up into the magazine. I got the bottom base plate of the magazine, cover it up so everything stays inside the gun. Now from there, that's basically it. It's all contained inside the rifle. I really love this system. It sounds great. So far, it seems very reliable. It seems very consistent, which is another great pro to it. The only downside I would think with using the Wraith CO2 adapter is maybe only that getting those 65-ish shots out of one CO2 cartridge. Not too bad though. It shouldn't be too hard to switch this out on the field if I ever need to. But really, I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you guys are running into any leaking issues or anything like that, definitely go ahead and see about opening up your bolt unit. You never know. You might even be missing an O-ring of your own. You might even have some debris in there. But give it a look-see. Don't fret. These products are fairly well made, and usually it's just something minor. Or as minor as for me, which could be just anything coming unsure. Well guys, thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate you guys watching it. I hope to be getting some gameplay of this thing out to you guys quick. I'm very excited to get it out on the field. Very excited to see how this thing's chronoing in. And I'm looking forward to really getting it super solid so we can get some of those really nice shots on camera. If you guys are looking for my magazine mod video, you can find it here. If you're looking for my last gameplay, it'll be here. And if you have any questions regarding this video, anything that I talked about, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a like, and I will catch you guys next time.